Hey, hi students. I think we are meeting after a long time now, isn't it? But today I have brought very interesting lesson for you from history. Today we are going to start second part of history and the second lesson from history, that is civilizing the native and educating the nation. Before starting this lesson, first let me tell you a few things about this policy of Britishers, what exactly they wanted and what they did in our India. So let's begin. See, first of all, many of the Britishers, they were thinking at that time that India is an uncivilized country. So Britishers have come here as their savior, as their Masiha, who will civilize them, who will educate them. So that was the view of many of the Britishers. They were thinking that the Indians, they are savage and they must be given a specific discipline. They don't have proper education, they don't have the study of science, and they are not splendid in many of the knowledge. So they wanted to give the education to our Indian people. But at the same time, there were two streams were there at that time. One stream, they were thinking that India has already has great knowledge. India has mastered in our sculpture, then medical science, then astronomy, Aryabhatta, then mathematics. So all then we can say ethics, then Vedas, and many of the scientific discoveries are made by India. So there is a lot which we can learn from India. This is the one view of some Britishers, and they were called Orientalist. They were Orientalist. And second group was there, they were completely against this. They were thinking that the education that we are giving to Indians in their own language, it is completely waste of money. We should educate them in English and we should provide them Western knowledge, which is completely practical and it is not theoretical. It will be useful for the Indians for their well-being. That was the view of the few Britishers, and they were thinking they were underestimating the knowledge of India, prevalent and ancient knowledge of India. So these two streams of thoughts we are going to study in this lesson first. So let's begin. First, let's talk about the first stream, that is Orientalism. What is this Orientalism? See students, it's very important for every ruling world that if they want to rule any country, means if you want to rule any country for long, it's not easy to conquer them only by territory. You also have to win their minds. If you can win them by love, it's okay. But if you can't win by love, then you have to create the confusion in their minds. And Britishers knew it very well. That's why after Orientalist, they were few Britishers, they were very good and they promoted the Indian education. Okay, so they were very good. So one of them was William Jones. Okay, so he was very good man, and in 1783 he opened a junior college. Yeah, sorry, he was junior judge at Calcutta, and he was linguist also. Linguist means such a person who knows many languages. He is called linguist. So he knew French, English, Greek, Latin, Persian, Arabic, etc. So these many languages he knew, that's why he's called linguist. So he was very good person, William Jones, and he was judge at Calcutta, and he was also interested in grammar and poetry. He had studied ancient Indian texts on law, Indian philosophy, Indian religion, Indian politics, what were the thoughts of India on over politics, then about the morality, ethics, then arithmetic, that is kind of maths, one branch of maths, then medicine and other sciences from India. All these things he has studied from India. That's why he had a great influence of Indian culture and he had a great respect for Indian culture. So here you can see his picture. He is a William Jones and he's tombed in Calcutta. Then another person was there, Henry Thomas Colebrook and Nathaniel Halhed. Okay, so all together they formed Asiatic Society of Bengal, where People will come together, they will discuss about the ancient heritage of India, they will talk and they will research upon it, what can be discovered from India and what can be learned from India. Okay, so all these things will be discussed among these people. So to discuss, there should be one platform. So that platform was given by these three people, Jones, Henry Thomas Colebrook, and Nathaniel. They formed an Asiatic Society of Bengal and they started a journal called Asiatic Researches. So here you can see the pictures of them, Henry Thomas Colebrook and Nathaniel Halhed. Okay, now uh, their attitude, what these three people they were thinking about India. Okay, first Jones, then Nathaniel Colebrook, and Halhed, that is Nathaniel Halhed. Okay, so these three people, what they're thinking about the India, let's talk about it. First of all, they had deep respect for Indian cultures, and they felt that the ancient Indian civilization had lost its past glory because of many invasion. As you know very well, first of all, Ghazni invaded in India in 11th century. After, yes, in 11th century. After that, Muhammad Ghori came. After that, Tughlaq came. Then Khilji came. So then Mongols came. When these people are invading India, Muhammad Ghori he came to India as to rule, not only to loot. So when he invaded India and he became the sovereign emperor of India, at that time, from that time, not at that time, from that time, India started declining and all the ancient scriptures they were just burned by these people, by these looters. And that's why somewhere means you can imagine, I think, if you start from 12th century or 13th century, you will come to know almost 800 years we have spent in slavery. We were slaves, not slaves exactly, but we were not independent people. Whatever the foreigners they will take decisions, we had to follow that. So in this way we had suffered from this slavery for 800 years, and because of this 800 slavery, Indians had lost its past glory. So, if you want to develop the Indians for future, then to study ancient textbook which could reveal the real ideas of laws of Hindus and Muslims. So, keeping this in mind and to revive Indian culture, ancient scripts, if we want to do that, then this education must be given to the Indians and more research must be done on that. That was the attitude of these three people towards India. So this was their attitude. But what exactly they did? Let's talk about it. They discovered many Indian texts. As you know, uh, means Vedas are there, Upanishads are there, Srimad Bhagavad Gita is there. Okay, so all these books, they were just part of one ancestry, we can say. Means, as you know, there are four Vedas: Samved, Atharvaved, Yajurved, and Rigved. So if there is a Brahmin who is a Samvedi, so only his descendants can revise them again and again, can memorize them, and only Brahmins can speak Sanskrit language. And only they can revise and memorize, or we can say chant these Vedic texts. No others were allowed to even speak about them. So this is what we can say. This is the blessing of Britishers actually, that they just opened the ways to these texts, Vedic text, and now we can read them very easily. So they discovered many Indian texts, Vedas, Upanishads, Ramayana, Mahabharata. Actually, they were prevalent, but what is exactly meaning behind them? The hidden meaning, they just took it out. Then they understood their meaning and translated them in Indian means I think, can you imagine about this or no? I'm not getting exactly this, but just try to understand. These books they were just restricted or confined in Brahmin homes. No else were allowed to read them, and actually these people they were just memorizing them, not understanding their meaning. Okay, without understanding the meaning, they were just repeating it and they were just memorizing. what was the exactly meaning, that was not the role of these people. So these Britishers, they translated them. And if you want to translate something, you know very well, first of all you have to understand it. When you are giving to give one word to any Sanskrit word, it is very essential that you must have understood what exactly the meaning lies behind it. And they found out the truth behind the Vedas or ancient scripts. They thought they thought that it was useful for others, Britishers as well as Indians. What was the result of this? When they did all these things, what was the result? The result was Indians would rediscover their own heritage and understand their lost glories of past. By all this process, the British would become the guardians of Indian cultures as well as its masters. British started promoting the Western learnings, and at this point, Britishers wanted not only Indian text, but at the same time, we also have to add Western education to the Indians for their upliftment. Okay, so till here we have talked about Orientalist. Now we are going to start such a group which is not in the favor. Okay, but before that, let me tell you about this. Madrasa was established in Calcutta, 1781. In these madrasas, the students, they will study Arabic, Persian, and Islamic laws. Then Hindu college was established in Benares in 1791 to encourage the study of ancient Sanskrit text that would be useful for the administration of country. Do you know this thing? Baba Sahib Ambedkar, he was saying that Sanskrit should be the national language of India because it is a very perfect language. And that's why in Hindu college, it was essential to study Sanskrit text that would be useful for the administration of country. Means at that time, the Britishers were keeping in their mind that Sanskrit can be the national language of India for the administration. But not all officials shared their views. Many were very strong in their criticism of the Orientalists. There were few Britishers, those who were completely against this Orientalism. Orientalism means the people, those who are supporting Indian text. Okay, means in this way you can keep in your mind. So they were completely against this. As I told you, that if you want to demoralize the people, then just take out the dignity from their mind, and dignity comes from the history. So just spoil that history. Just create the confusion in the minds of the people. If you create that, the people, they will just understand that our ancestors, they were not good, and now what the Britishers are telling us, it is the perfect one. So here I would like to quote one thing from which you will understand what was the view of the Britishers. This is the thought from Vivekanand. विवेकानंद कहते थे, जब बच्चा इंग्लिश स्कूल में जाने लगता है तब 3-4 दिन के बाद वो कहने लगता है कि मेरे पापा मूर्ख है। 8 दिन के बाद वो कहने लगता है कि मेरी मम्मी भी मूर्ख है। 1 महीने के बाद वो कहने लगता है कि मेरे बुजुर्ग जो हो गए वो सारे के सारे पागल है। और 1 साल के बाद वो कहने लगता है कि इस पूरे हमारे खानदान में सबसे अगर होशियार कोई होगा तो वो मैं हूँ। क्यों? क्योंकि मैं इंग्लिश स्कूल में पढ़ता हूँ। ओके, और इंग्लिश स्कूल में जो पढ़ाया जाता है वही सबसे बेस्ट है। हमारे एंशिएंट टेक्स्ट एंड स्क्रिप्चर्स सारे बस फालतू नॉलेज का स्टॉक है, ऐसा वो कहने लगता है। ऐसे हमारे विवेकानंद कहते थे, क्योंकि स्कूल्स में पढ़ाया ही ऐसा जाता था। उस वक्त के स्कूल में पढ़ाया ही ऐसा जाता था कि जिससे इंडियन लोगों के बीच में उनके हेरिटेज के लिए एक गुस्सा और कंटेम्प्ट, एक द्वेष तैयार हो, और ब्रिटिशर्स के लिए एक रिस्पेक्ट तैयार हो। एजुकेशन ही इस तरह से डेकोरेट किया गया था। ओके, तो ताकि इस एजुकेशन से सिर्फ क्लर्क लोग पैदा हो, सिर्फ काम मजदूर लोग पैदा हो, जो सिर्फ एक बेसिक कामों के लिए पढ़े लिखे हो। ओके, एक्चुअली see, I'm not saying this from my own words. This is the letter written by Macaulay to his father, and in his letter he writes to his father that we want to create what? Clerks, not the administrative people. Okay, So these are the people, those who are going to be against these Orientalists. Now we are going to see the second types of the people, those who are completely against the Orientalist. Yes. What is the first thought of these uh, anti-Orientalist people? Let's talk about it. They are thinking from the early 19th century, many British officials began to criticize the Orientalist vision of learning. They are thinking that Eastern knowledge means Indian knowledge. It is completely full of errors and it is unscientific knowledge. And when we invest on that, it is a completely waste of money. Instead of that, they are saying that they are completely criticize Orientalism and Orientalist. So this is the person, Thomas Arabi. Okay, so he was criticized a lot. Okay, now the persons, those who were against Orientalism, the first of them was James Mill. He was against the Orientalism and he declared that there should not be taught what the natives wanted or what they respected. What they want, it should not be taught. He said that the aim of the education ought to be teach what was practical. See, when the Britishers are bringing this knowledge, of course their knowledge was practical, but there was no ethics and morals and moral in that education. So he says that the aim of the education is to teach practical thing. So Indians should be made familiar with the scientific and technical advances, not about the morality only. The second person against Orientalist was, and the most important person is, please keep this in mind, Thomas Babington Macaulay. He was also against Orientalism. He saw Indians as uncivilized that needed to be civilized. And he says that no branch of Eastern knowledge, according to him, could be compared to what England had produced. And you know what does he say? Means all the knowledge of India can be kept in one bookshelf of British library. He used to say like that the education which is given in India, it is so less and no branch of Eastern knowledge can be compared with Western knowledge. He thought that the language produced by England was superior to other languages. Macaulay said that a see, here is the statement. Single shelf of a good European library was worth the whole native literature of Indian and Arabia. He urged that the British government in India stop wasting public money in promoting the Oriental language. Macaulay gave extra importance to English and felt the need of teaching the Indians English. Okay, see how he is uh, forcing, pressurizing on English, that English must be learned by all the Indians so that finest literature of the world will be open for the Indians. Means of course English literature, it will be open for the Indians and they will read it and will understand the glory of Britishers and they will start respecting England, not India. So tragedy of power, Macaulay, Library of England, so that it would make them aware of the developments in Western science and philosophy. By following Macaulay, minute the English Education Act of 1835 was introduced. Okay, please keep this in mind. After Jones, who was Orientalist, in 1835, according to the policies of the Macaulay, English Education Act was formulated in 1835, and they wanted to make English the medium of instruction for higher education and to stop the promotion of Oriental institutions like the Calcutta Madras and Benares Sanskrit College. English textbooks started producing of schools. So what was the ideology and what were the provisions and articles in the policy of Macaulay, that we will see in our next lecture. Till then, thank you so much. Have a nice day.